Señor viene a decirnos con mucha firmeza y gran convencimiento lo mismo que nos decía en el siglo XVIII el barón de Holbach, ¿no? Un filósofo francés de origen alemán. Si nos remontamos al comienzo, entonces hallaremos que la ignorancia y el temor crearon a los dioses. La fantasía, el entusiasmo o el engaño los adornaron o desfiguraron. La divinidad les rinde culto, la credulidad los conserva, la costumbre los respeta y la tiranía los apoya para que la ceguera de los hombres sirva a sus propios intereses.
The Native American boarding school era is a dark chapter of American history. The policy was known as assimilation. Everything native was to be stripped away. The thought was to kill the Indian and save the man. Their language was to be unspoken.
This program is made possible in part by the Lawrence T.D. Janet T.D. Foundation.
If the Great Spirit had desired me to be a white man, he would have made me so in the first place. Sitting Bull. Stories are told of Native children doing everything they could to escape boarding schools. Home was far away. They longed for anything familiar. Many were unsure as to what had happened to them. They came from another world. Children took pride in their long hair. It was a symbol of strength and dignity. Their hair was cut to Anglo standards. Native clothes changed to military-style uniforms. They were forbidden to practice their way of life in the early boarding school years. Previously, relationships had been based upon the natural world and each other. Prayer and ceremony were important aspects of life. The early schools were run with military precision.
It was more accurately should be called ethnic cleansing rather than assimilation. And it has had devastating effects on my people.
I think that was a time when the government really felt like that was their last option, with the so-called Indian problem that they had to deal with, and it was the last option to go for the children.
This photo from the Pine Ridge Sioux Reservation shows families camped near a boarding school in South Dakota. Close family proximity was discouraged.
Assimilation affected the Utes in a very tragic way. It was so ineffective that it did not train us to become competent in the white world, and it took us away from our own culture, so much so that we weren't even competent as Indians anymore.
It's a summer day on Utah's San Juan River. Cliffs and alcoves along the river offer glimpses of past civilizations. Beginning thousands of years ago, ancestral Puebloans were some of the first inhabitants of this area. The dwellings of River House provided sweeping vistas for ancient people who lived here. Petroglyphs etched into stone tell stories of ancient times. Ancestral Pueblo families lived here, seeking survival. European explorers arrived in the Americas. They entered a world inhabited by indigenous people. Encountering the expedition led by Meriwether Lewis and William Clark was a pivotal event in the history of Native Americans. Lewis and Clark explored the vast lands acquired by the United States from France in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803.
For Native Americans, I think it was the beginning of a very significant shift in their ways of life, in all areas of their life, from governance to the cultural.
Lewis and Clark eventually arrived at the Pacific. It was a significant moment in the history of the American West. The Lewis and Clark expedition publicized the West. Settlers and entrepreneurs would follow. Change arrived, from the stark, remote Badlands to the unforgiving deserts of the American West. The United States government saw westward expansion as progress. Native Americans felt encroachment.
Native peoples have experienced many trails of tears, which were movements, violent movements, to remove indigenous people from their homelands because white settlers desired their lands.
The Navajo were marched to a barren reservation called Bosque Redondo on the present-day Texas-New Mexico border. Nearly 2,000 Navajo died at Bosque Redondo. The Navajo were allowed to return home. The 1868 treaty with the Navajo included the provision that their children must attend school. Native American boarding schools had been started much earlier by Christian missionaries. The 1887 Dawes Act reinforced the reservation system and encouraged assimilation.
With us, there was immediate declaration of war on our culture. We were forbidden to speak our language and practice our religion. And it's like our war was prolonged, and the assimilation policies were how they implemented it, how they carried it out. It was very destructive. And it caused historic trauma among most of our people, including myself to this day.
And I remember at the church being told that what my parents practiced would send them to hell, where they would burn forever. And when you're 7 years old and you hear that, that was really the most devastating, terrifying experience for me.
But some of the isolation or separation from parents was very difficult. But that was part of the agenda. If we're going to, as they say in the past, separate you from the blanket, we need to have full control of everything you do, everything you learn.
The Carlisle Indian Boarding School in Pennsylvania was founded in 1879. Carlisle had been a former military site.
The Native children who were sent to Carlisle, I think they, for the most part, arrived on the train. And so they probably endured hundreds of miles and long hours on the train before they arrived at their final destination, which was Carlisle.
Richard Henry Pratt was superintendent of Pennsylvania's Carlisle Indian School. Pratt previously experimented with Native American education, practicing on captives in Florida. Pratt felt they could be assimilated into society if given vocational and religious training. Richard Henry Pratt wrote in 1892, "A great general has said that the only good Indian is a dead one. In a sense, I agree with the sentiment, but only in this, that all the Indian there is in the race should be dead. Kill the Indian in him and save the man." Three of the most famous boarding schools were Carlisle in Pennsylvania, Haskell in Lawrence, Kansas, and Sherman in Riverside, California. Haskell is now the Haskell Indian Nations University. It was founded in 1884 as the United States Indian Industrial Training School. It opened its doors for 22 students. Boys studied farming and labor trades, girls studied homemaking and sewing. The last high school class graduated in 1965. Lorena Charles went to Haskell in Kansas. It was far away from the Hopi mesas she called home.
Sometimes a teacher would get a ruler and, get us on our hand or on your leg. And then they would tell the principal, and we'd get an extra another detail to do, like washing the dishes or washing the dish towels.
Sherman started out as the Paris Indian School in 1892 in Paris, California. It was moved to Riverside in 1901. It's now the Sherman Indian High School.
My mother was taken away when she was 9 years old and was not allowed to return until she was 18.
Both Carlisle in Pennsylvania and Haskell in Kansas had confinement rooms for unruly students.
At one point, I really began to understand the trauma that had happened there when I had seen a picture of a jail that was at Haskell. And it was just a very small little cube cell jail, and I still have the picture of it.
These small handcuffs were recently discovered at Haskell. If truly authenticated, they appear to fit a small child.
Well, I've learned that the worst thing was the sexual abuse and then the emotional abuse that accompanied it in many of the schools. A lot of the schools were staffed by people who were many times isolated from society themselves.
Navajo leader Manuelito agreed to uphold the 1868 treaty requiring American education for Navajo children. He sent his sons to Carlisle.
Within a year of arriving at Carlisle, Manuelito's son contracted a disease and died at Carlisle. And so Manuelito, upon learning of his son's death, immediately ordered that the surviving children be returned home. His second son came home. He was ill when he returned home and died within a matter of weeks after returning home.
There were 25 federally funded non-reservation Native American schools by 1902, with some 6,000 students. Estimates increased that population to 60,000 by 1973. Boarding schools brought Native children from many diverse cultures together in one place.
In many ways, it did the reverse. It strengthened our culture, and our relationships with other tribes strengthened our culture. And so it created a intertribal pan-Indian relationship across our country.
Commissioner of Indian Affairs John Collier wrote in 1923, "The administration of Indian affairs is a disgrace, a policy designed to rob Indians of their property, destroy their culture, and eventually exterminate them." The Merriam Report in 1928 documented abuses and made recommendations to correct them.
You know, there were a lot of people out in the larger the United States that kind of rallied on behalf of Native Americans. They saw what was going on.
Amanda Blackhorse attended Haskell in a later era than the early boarding school days.
And so today, what remains are some unmarked graves near Haskell, and a lot of people still talk about the ghosts or the spirits that still roam around there. And a lot of students that go to school there will have stories of hearing things, seeing things. And so I think that the healing process there is still happening.
It's amazing that we still exist as Native American people. That was not the intent. You know, the intent was to destroy us as Native people.
Boarding school was never forgotten by Native American children.
They all looked at me when they were giving me my haircut. That my long hair, you know, that clipper going through that and my long hair falling off. And I was really hurt. That was the teaching from my grandfather, was, you know, your hair, your long hair is your strength, and your long hair is your wisdom, your knowledge.
It was, I mean, almost violent in a way. That he and that's not only for him, it's for my other family members that have gone through the boarding school experience.
When I was at the boarding school, they chopped off my long hair, and I remember crying and crying and crying, and my mother was so upset.
Dee Satala went to Keams Canyon Boarding School on Arizona's Hopi Reservation.
Just remembering how hard they punished us or disciplined us, it's just that I didn't want to go through it. That's why I just always, you know, ran away from there.
There was a whip, there was spanking, and there was a punishment where you stand on your knees, and then there was a place where if you got caught doing things, they put a dictionary on your hand, and you get your hand out like that, and you stand out there, you know. And That was some of the punishment that you did. And I think the worst punishment that I experienced through was, standing on my knee in one place, and I blacked out.
She did not pass that down to me. She was told not to teach me Ute because it would interfere in my mastery of English, and which we found is not true at all. And so that has caused harm to me. It's affected me emotionally, physically, culturally. It's been very disruptive in my life.
Navajo Kathleen Wood returns to the Chaska boarding school in Tohatchi, New Mexico.
This was dormitory 3. It used to be right here. It's no longer here, but it used to be the big girls' dorm. There was another dorm to my left, and that was the little girls' dorm.
But at school, if you made a mistake, sometimes it's harsh punishment. You just have to learn quickly. Up to this day, I still get sad about it. My mom, my dad, I don't know what happened, but sometimes they didn't pick me up. And I still get emotional on this because I would be at the dorms with maybe 4 other students. Christmas was the hardest, 1, 2 years, a couple of years maybe. She left me there and looking out the window, no one coming to pick you up. So that was hard. And it was sad for me because it's like, who's coming to get me?
There were 3 boys that ran away from this school. They wanted to go home. Apparently they got so lonely they wanted to visit family. There's 3 brothers, and they were from Nosh Chitty. They ran away from here as winter, January. I remember helicopters going around, flying over this plateau. We were told to stay inside the building. They did find the boys after a while, but the sad part is all 3 boys lost their legs due to frostbite, frozen legs. So they did come back to school here, but they were in wheelchairs, and then later on they went to the fake legs. But they were, they still finished here with us. And I still remember who they are, and they're not forgotten. May they rest in peace now. They're no longer around. But, sometimes when you get so lonely, you do desperate things to go home.
When I was in 2nd grade, that was my worst nightmare. I know I was traumatized from that. But going to Sherman, being with students that I know from the same village, from the same area, and meeting new students, to me, that was the greatest time of my life.
The clock no longer ticks at the Phoenix Indian School in Arizona. The history of the school dates from 1891. Arlen Palaka of the Hopi tribe attended the school.
There's nothing but good I can say about boarding schools. My dad just told us that's what we needed to survive today, and he was right about that. And I was glad I listened. There's many different tribes there, and made friends with pretty much every tribe. I had a friend in every tribe.
It closed in 1990.
I always thought I was going to get beat or get hit with a board or something, but that never happened to me, luckily. So I've witnessed the whole classroom witness one of our classmates get so badly beaten by the teacher. And so we were just like, that was awful and terrible. But we just sort of went back and continued our class. I don't know what happened. We didn't know anything about reporting or anything like that. So
Davina Spotted Elk attended Tuba City Boarding School in Arizona as a young girl.
I would say my worst experience was when, after Tuba City Boarding School, I had gone on to Seventh-day Adventist boarding school in Holbrook, Arizona. A lot of girls that were away from home, I would hear them sometimes cry in their bed. I probably only lasted half the year because I had cried so hard. There was a group of girls, little young girls, that ran away. We didn't know how far away home was, so we thought maybe it wasn't very far. But they said no, they caught us, and we went to the main principal. I don't know if he was a principal or the director of the boarding school, but they said that he had whipped each and every one of them with it was like a cord. It was like an electrical cord, I think they described it as. And they showed us the whipping marks, and some of them were very deep. And that was very scary for us. I think they wanted us to see that, so it would show, if anyone ever leaves again, this is what's going to happen. So we were terrified. And from that, for me, it was very traumatic.
And we didn't know a word of English. And they tried to tell us something, but we didn't understand. And then they kept telling us, and sometimes they would lose their patience and start talking hard and yelling, and then we start crying. So it was a terrifying experience.
Cheryl Marzak visits Navajo Carl Begay. Carl is a sheep herder who lives near Chinle, Arizona. Carl remembers the Intermountain Indian School which he attended in Brigham City, Utah.
Not Navajo, just English. Always speak English all the time. They used to get, but when we're out there in the sticks somewhere, we always sing or we always tell jokes, Navajo jokes and all that.
Today, the Intermountain Indian School is only a skeleton of its past. Intermountain opened in 1950 and closed in 1984. It was converted from a World War II military hospital.
The Intermountain Indian School in Brigham City, Utah, I'm happy to say was one of the best schools because it served the Intermountain West. We got kids from all over the western states.
Many Navajo were bused to Intermountain from their homes in Arizona and southern Utah. Darlene Smith met her husband Roy at Intermountain.
They had their own theater, they had their own dance halls, I mean, it was just the best time for me. That's where I met my husband. He wasn't going to school there. He had graduated from there, and he was in college at Utah State University. But I loved it. I loved it in Indian school. Then I don't know how long they had it open after that, and they closed it down.
Boarding schools faced issues of overcrowding and funding shortfalls. Many parents wanted their children educated closer to home.
All of a sudden, the budgets were shut down, and we were really upset about that because it's like we finally got a hold on the federal schools to serve our kids, and then they shut them down. They pulled the rug out from under us.
For some, the boarding school experience was an opportunity for education.
The teachers were good. For them to come out and onto the reservation and teach us, I thought that was, pretty, how would you say, it's pretty courageous for them. Once in a while, they would say something negative. At the time, I thought that was okay to do. But now I don't think it's okay. It was okay, But we would just forget.
Davina Spotted Elk and Amanda Blackhorse visit the home of Davina's grandmother in Big Mountain, Arizona. Davina's grandmother is a respected Navajo elder. She's witnessed tremendous change over the course of her many years. Amanda Blackhorse visits Davina's grandmother for the first time.
We're the last thing on the list. We're still feeling the effects of boarding schools today. Boarding schools actually still do exist to this day, and it has completely demolished the indigenous familial system. And many of our people are suffering, and the thing is, they don't realize that they are suffering from the boarding school syndrome. Many of us don't even understand it in that perspective.
In the 1960s, the civil rights era brought change. Native Americans were part of that movement.
And I remember reading Robert Kennedy, who was Attorney General at that time, saying that there should be day schools where students can be bused to their home. He says, if you take the child away from their environment, you kill the spirit. He says, how can you expect a child to learn when you kill the spirit?
The Indian Civil Rights Act passed in 1968. The occupation of Alcatraz and Wounded Knee were significant political events which brought Native issues to public attention.
In the 1970s, the American public became aware of discontent, the rage at hundreds of years of American policies of genocide and ethnic cleansing.
It's not true for all Americans or Westerners that the intent of Native American policy was to obliterate all natives, take their land, and this and that. There was some very, caring and compassionate people during that time that advocated for Native Americans.
Congress passed the Indian Self-Determination and Education Act in 1975, giving tribal communities greater control over their own affairs. The Santa Fe Indian School in New Mexico was started during the assimilation era. Pueblo governors acknowledged deficiencies in education. Committed educators proved to be catalysts for positive change.
I'm uniquely qualified to know what the kids are going through because I went through the same thing, being away from home. So I know what the kids are going through, but I also know that what the kids are as capable of doing.
The Santa Fe Indian School is owned and operated by the 19 Pueblos in New Mexico. They have taken responsibility for educating their children. The Pueblo Council named Joseph Abeta as the first superintendent.
Those people have failed our kids for over 200 years. If we fail once or twice, relative to how many times our kids have been failed, we deserve the right. So we took it on.
I am from the Tlingit and Haida tribe in Alaska, and I'm affiliated with the Mescalero Apache tribe.
Alicia is a boarding school student at the Santa Fe Indian School.
When you go to the Santa Fe Indian School, you experience what it feels like to be genuinely cared about and to have the support from teachers and from staff and from your friends.
Self-determination means self-determination. A condition for self-determination is that we learn how to do for ourselves, accept responsibility, and when we do good, it's our success. When we do bad, it's our failure. And creating that kind of attitude, I think, really motivated a lot of kids to show people who we are, that we are capable.
It's definitely difficult to think about what boarding schools were compared to what they are today because it was so different. A lot of terrible things took place and a lot of terrible things were inflicted on Native Americans, and I think it changed.
I know I've let this play for a while and I have not said anything since, but I wanted to share these two videos, at least three, well, two, because I think that a lot of us do not even take the time to really watch these videos. Regardless of how you feel about me and this channel, you can hate me all you want. Don't hate the message. Hate the messenger? Fine. Fine. Hate the messenger. Don't hate the message, which means don't come to the channel and attack if you want this message to pass. Because if you come to this channel and attack, then that means you don't want none of this message to go through. So you have to understand, what are you attacking? If you're an enemy or a friend, if you're an enemy, we understand what you want. But if you're a so-called friend hating the messenger, You have to understand what you're attacking. This doesn't stop. You can be part of the problem too.
From wanting to...
Anyways, thank y'all for being here, man. Appreciate you. Thank you, sis, for being here. Hold on, just for you.
Bruh.
assimilate Native Americans into, white culture to now, which is, really nurturing who we are as a people and supporting who we are.
Alicia attends Carlos Santisteban's physics class.
Cause resonance to occur. We're going to look at that a little bit more in terms of what's happening with the waves.
Alicia ends her day at the dorm, which is her home away from home. She catches the train to Albuquerque on most weekends to return to her family.
I feel like whenever I was going to schools in Albuquerque, the public schools, I was able to click with people, but not on this particular level, because going to the Santa Fe Indian School and being Native American and being surrounded by Native American students, you build connections with them that you can't with people that don't understand and don't relate to who you are on a very...
Thank you, brother, for being here, bro. Thank you, bro. Because this is a thorough message, man. I wanted to share these videos, bro. I think these videos are so important. Sometimes we need to sit back and shut the fuck up and just let other people talk, because it's so beautiful and you see all the stuff that is actually going on. You know what I mean? This is powerful stuff, man. I love this shit. I know people don't... Look, whatever. It is what it is, man. Let's go.
Spiritual and
I'll see you soon, bro.
Personal level. And I think it just gives you a lot of room for, discovering who you are and figuring out who you want to be.
That's our school. It belongs to us in a way that schools have never been our schools.
And then we're at this tipping point that I think could go either way. And it is essential that our young people understand their responsibility. And as a teacher, I remind them and I tell them, and I say, think about the future.
We're uniquely Native American. How do we take those Native American values and belief systems and how do we put them into this school, that Santa Fe Indian School, so that you come onto campus and we're an Indian school, we're an Indian boarding school, and that we're okay with it, we're good.
Darlene Smith teaches a class in Navajo history to grade schoolers. Navajo language, culture, and history are embraced here.
In the boarding school days, the government didn't want us to speak Navajo. So I think a lot of the parents from back then, the ones that went to boarding school, I think they're grandmothers now.
I love this so much, man, because, obviously I have 4 kids, but one that matters the most is my oldest son. He's autistic and blind. He doesn't have relationships. He doesn't have the opportunities all the other kids have, or all the other young men have, or all these other men have. He is, what he is. And a lot of situations happen with our people. A lot of our children are disabled, man. You know what I'm saying? And I think that society, or at least the way that they structured it, I could say that they use that excuse too, to then say, oh, we have to dumbify their society because, they have too many sick kids. Nah, bro, it's because you also put poison in our shit. A lot of the kids are smart, man. Very smart. Let's go.
Now, a lot of them don't want their kids to learn Navajo.
Dacian Spotted Elk is Davina's son.
Hey, thanks for stopping by, brother.
Roy and Darlene Smith are his grandparents. He attends East High School in Salt Lake City. George Henry teaches a diversity class at the school.
In my class this year, I think Mr. George Henry, He's a great teacher. He does a great job at teaching different cultures and explaining, how it is to be a person of color.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm kind of understanding.
I've been taught to, always take pride in it, and I think it's awesome that I'm Native American, and I hope other Native Americans realize that also. Growing up, a lot of kids would say racist things, and I could recall one day a kid told me to get your Native American butt out of here and go home, and I didn't want to be mean or say anything mean back, so I gave him a brief history lesson about Native Americans, and I said, this is my home, and I told him how Native Americans, how we struggled and how we were pushed away from our homes. And
so let me share something with y'all. I've taught my daughter and I to deal with the word beaner like nothing. She calls me beaner, I call her beaner, right? And I tell her, don't say that stuff to people outside. This is just an inside joke, okay? Do you want to know why? Because I'm basically making the word for what it is. It's just a word. I'm not going to let these people take advantage of my kids' mentality. Neither should you guys. I think, anyways, let's continue.
He was shocked, and he didn't say another word about it ever again.
Dacian plays on the basketball team.
There are little signs like when I pat my heart, it's telling him, play with your heart. There are other times when I'm, pointing to my eyes, it's like, focus. I know my son's has had some history with students that have name called him or his Native friends. I know that for a fact because he's told me. And so he uses sports as a way to cope.
It's important to protect our children, to protect our families, to protect ourselves. I talk a lot about self-reflection. I don't think that's far-fetched from any man, no matter what fucking religion you are related to. You need to self-reflect to make sure that you are in that space that you need to be, like a real man should be, you know what I'm saying, with a family and all that stuff. I'm speaking from experience because I'm a husband, right? You know what I mean? So I have a family, I have a house, you know what I mean? All that stuff. So like you have to think like that. You always have to self-reflect. And I mean, how far-fetched is that from what we're supposed to do? How far-fetched is that from what our elders taught us or our history has always showed of who we are? It's not far-fetched.
The imagery I see at basketball games is very offensive for me. I know my son he's had to encounter with that at times when he's traveled. There's a high school not far from here that has the imagery, and I've seen when football games when you've seen the painted faces on them, or basketball games, they're making the whooping noise.
Some of the things I hear and see, people doing the chant and call me racist names, and it hurts sometimes. And I can recall, one game where I let it get to me, and I didn't want to play or finish the game, and I couldn't believe someone would say something like that to me.
For the most part, in general, do not support using Native people and tribes, Indian tribes, as mascots or nicknames. However, in the case of the University of Utah and the use of the Ute nickname, I'm totally in support of it. The University of Utah did consult with the tribes back in the 70s and more recently met formally with the tribe and obtained.
Here's what I will say to you, fathers or mothers that may want to change that whole concept of how your kids want to act towards other people. I would say to you first, you need to be doing that in the beginning. Like you need to be the ones showing that example of what you want to change in your children. Because we came from a background where our gente was like, no digas nada. Don't create problems. And that has a lot to do with self-esteem as well, right? So if you want to change, there's a lot more to that, you know what I mean? I can go deeper in some other subject in that sense. But I'm just telling you right now from that subject itself, if you want to change that, you need to start changing that yourself. You need to show that example. You need to be the one up there, like, you know, because your children watch who you are. You know what I'm saying? Like, they watch what you do. They notice every insult or every, you know, or no insult. They notice all that stuff. Like, you know, our kids watch. They are literally like who we are. Like, my kids know. I will protect them no matter what. They know that. So my kids have a space of them that speaks out. Their mother is not like that, right? So they have like this half space where they will speak out when they need to, but then they're a little hesitant because it's what they learned. So if you want to have your child like express himself, then you need to show that to them in some examples, not to go kick people's asses, just in overall ways of how you communicate or how you are, or how you deal with people. You don't have to be aggressive. You just have to let people know who you are and how you feel. And not exactly how you feel, you know what I mean? Like, but you just let people know who you are. It's not complicated, man. The problem with people, right? The problem with people forever is the fact that everybody's always offended. And as soon as somebody tells them the truth about something they either don't like or, I don't know, bro, we need to stop being that way. Seriously, it's not that bad. It's not that personal. We're all people, man. You know, so anyways, let's continue.
A resolution, which is our official form of business.
Amanda Blackhorse is possibly best known for participating in the lawsuit regarding the Washington Redskins' name.
For generations, we're taught to believe that we're savages. We're taught to believe that we were less than, that we were redskins, that we were primitive, and we really believe that. You know, that has been beaten into our heads. You have mascots. You have cowboys and Indians in Hollywood. The only representation out there of Native American people.
And you know what's so funny? That it's not just happening from white folks. Negros are saying that to you guys too. Negros, black folks that look like from West Africa are saying the same shit too. People from Europe are saying the same shit. Obviously, it's right in your face. She's saying it, but they're all saying it. Next thing you know, we'll have Asian people from like China and Japan saying that they're the ones from here.
In the national
then Arabs
media is our stereotypes. We're looked at only through that lens. And so I think sports mascots has a huge responsibility in that.
It's not okay. It's not. Although I know there are tribes that say, oh no, it's honoring us. But no, look at the statistics. Read the statistics. It really does impact our younger generation. It impacts them to where they are ashamed.
You know what? I'll say this right now. That is very true. I remember when I went into high school in Oceanside High. I wanted to play running back so bad, but I was afraid. I was afraid. I don't know about ashamed. I was afraid. I just felt like, nah, maybe. But you know what? That was because it was engraved in me in that sense. It was supposed to be like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, man, stay away from these, like, you know, foreigners. Bro, I'm telling you that as soon as, like, what was it? Like, I don't know, like some summer and like 2 years down the road, I started playing football with these same people that played football. I was running them over, man. And then that's when I realized, like, what the hell? Why didn't I just do it? Why didn't I just try? A lot of us have that problem. Y'all just need to fucking try. Try it. My friends, I'm telling you, man, that's one thing that they took away from us.
Samuel Holliday rides in a Navajo tribal parade. He and Dana Key are Navajo code talkers who participated in World War II.
In case you guys don't know about Navajo world talkers, like these guys were the ones that actually helped win the war. If it wasn't for them, it would not have happened. Watch this.
Code talkers.
And this is our gente, okay? This is not some fucking strangers from other nations. This is not somebody that was supposedly black and had woolly hair and they found him here. You know what I mean? This is our people.
Tribal parade. He and Dana Key are Navajo code talkers who participated in World War II. Code talkers used native language to communicate vital information which enemies could not decipher. People from several Native American tribes were code talkers in World War I and World War II, the same language that was discouraged during boarding school days.
They call that brown soap. If you hear talking Navajo, they smash it right into your face like this. Brown soap was bitter.
They are regarded with a great deal of respect for using the Navajo language to create a code, which many people say then was very significant to ending the war.
The boarding schools contributed many former students to the military. Ira Hayes participated in the flag raising on Iwo Jima during World War II. He was a member of the Pima tribe and attended Phoenix Indian School.
Native Americans, and including the Navajo people, are some of the most patriotic people, patriotic citizens of the United States. I believe that it is a part of the processes of American assimilation, And so it's very difficult to separate our sense of who we are as citizens of our respective and distinctive tribal nations and being citizens of the United States.
Low self-esteem, poverty, drugs, and hopelessness are continuing problems for Native Americans.
That's why we have a lot of sort of quote-unquote mental health problems today. You see high rates of depression and anxiety, and I believe that's where that comes from, because their trauma has been passed down, and we really are feeling what they're feeling at times.
Some of them, they accomplished what they needed to do, but some of them, they became an alcoholic. One of the very, very close friends, when I got married and when I had the family, we were driving downtown in Flagstaff. There was this man carrying a gunny sack, carrying aluminum cans. And it turned out that that was one of my very, very best friends. And he was out there, he was homeless. He was begging for money.
The boarding school era wasn't simply a time of adversity. Accomplishments also accompanied it. Carlisle's Jim Thorpe received Olympic and professional international fame. He is widely known as one of the world's greatest athletes.
For someone like Jim Thorpe to come out of that and to be acknowledged for his...
In case you guys don't know, Jim Thorpe was a native brother. In case you guys don't know that. In case you guys don't know that. Okay? Let me see what you got to say, sis. The San Carlos Hotel in Phoenix is built on the grounds of old Indian schools. there's a well in the basement where kids drowned. That hotel is haunted. Oh, I don't know. If it is, damn, crazy. Let's continue. But by the way, don't forget who this guy is. See, but like, for example, in case you guys don't know this, Roberto Duran's father is Mexican. Do you understand that shit? Roberto Duran's father is a Mexica. So, there's a lot of stuff that people don't really understand what the fuck's going on, but now it's coming out. Go.
Feats as an athlete, I think was a point or a place where people could feel some sense of pride that one of their own had indeed accomplished something great against such adversity.
Hopi distance runner Louis Tiwanima excelled at Carlisle. He won the Olympic silver medal in 1912. Louis eventually returned to the Hopi Mesas. Acclaimed sculptor, painter, and illustrator Allen Hauser was a product of the Santa Fe Indian School. He later taught at the Intermountain Indian School. Lakota Sioux distance runner Billy Mills was raised on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. He attended the Haskell Institute and the University of Kansas. Billy Mills won the 1964 Olympic gold medal in the 10,000-meter event. He served in Vietnam with the Marine Corps.
We're very bright. We're very intelligent. I know that because I see that everywhere I've traveled. I know we have bright children, but the thing is it doesn't pertain to the white American society, but the test that we are given doesn't pertain to who we are. I mean, Columbus didn't discover America.
See what I mean? Like she's actually, it's almost like in a way where she's saying to herself, I believe this for a long time, but I'm sad of the fact that my people don't believe that. Like she's in that moment, like, I believe it, man, I'm so happy that I believe it. Like, and it's almost like me and shit. Because I don't even care if you guys don't believe it no more. Seriously, it's what it is. You know what I'm saying? But she believes it. And she wishes that you guys would believe it. That's where she's at. Think about it.
Dakota. He attended the Haskell Institute and the University of Kansas. Billy Mills won the 1964 Olympic gold medal in the 10,000-meter event. He served in Vietnam with the Marine Corps.
We're very bright. We're very intelligent. I know that because I see that everywhere I've traveled. I know we have bright children, but the thing is it doesn't pertain to the white American society, but the test that we are given doesn't pertain to who we are. I mean, Columbus didn't discover America. Sorry.
Some apologies have been made for the policies of assimilation, but many Native people seek more.
First and foremost is an apology. The President of the United States has already issued that, but I think most states need to also do that.
I've often acknowledged the painful history, the broken promises that are part of our past. And I've said that while we couldn't change the past, working together, nation and nation, we could build a better future.
Some refused to retaliate when the opportunity came.
And I told myself that one of these days I'm gonna go get her back. But I did see her, and she's an old lady now, and I thought, no, I can't do that. But at the time, I was angry. It's like, no one just goes and slaps you for no reason. I was doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
This is a great country, and we need to remember that. But it requires maintenance to keep it great, because I'm a big Thomas Jefferson fan when he said that our democracy hinges upon the quality of the education of the public. And we're starting to see that today.
The past is marked by the graves of children, the cemeteries far away from their homes and families, They are remembered only in the hearts and minds of a few.
When we remember the stories of their experiences, we remember the children who died there, who never returned home. Many of them not only died from sicknesses and diseases, but they also died from loneliness and heartbreak. Their stories remind us that we should always do better and that we should cherish and love our children, and that they are the next generation.
Mexican President Díaz Ordaz enforces a little-used law.